Are you planning your March morning basket? Hi, I'm Christy from Homeschooling in Progress. Why don't you come along and see what we have in our basket to give you some ideas? So we begin each of our homeschool days with the rosary and a morning offering prayer. And then after that, we move right into the rest of our morning basket. And the first thing we do are these patron saint flashcards. And the box has 100 cards that have a picture on the front of the saint, and then on the back, it has some information about the saint with fun facts at the top, who the saint is, and then some information about them. So for my kids, I will read the fun facts while they look at the picture, and then they try to find out who the saint is. And then I read the information about them after that. After our patron saint of the day, then we look to a vocabulary word of the day. And we use the Vocabulary Cartoons book. And we've been using this book for about 1.5 years now. And what we do is each day I will read the vocabulary word, tell the boys what part of speech it is, and then I will read the link. And then as they look at the picture, I will read the caption that goes with it while I have the definition covered so they can't see it. And then they try to figure out what the word means. And once they have it figured out, or at least have had a guess, then I will let them know what it means and put it on our whiteboard so they'll see it all day. And then we will read, or I will read them the other 3 additional sentences with the word in it so that they can understand how it's used. And then after 10 words, they have a vocabulary quiz. And so I will give the boys this. And both of them usually, I have 4th and 6th grade, they both usually can get the top part with the definitions correct. My 6th grader usually can get all of these sentences correct. And my 4th grader usually does a pretty good job with at least getting a few words correctly used in the sentence, which I think is pretty good considering this is an SAT prep book that I think, for a 4th grader, that's pretty good that he can get a lot of that. After the vocabulary word of the day, we move right into some memory work. And each boy has their own binder, which I have color-coded. And if you want some more information about color coding, I do have a video that I will link to, just to give you an idea of why color coding is really good for your homeschool. In the binder here, we have a spot for the prayers that they're going to memorize. And I have all the prayers I want them to memorize, and then I write the date when they have it memorized so that they have a record and know where they are. And then behind that, I just have a printout of all of the Catholic prayers, and they just memorize it for about 5 minutes each day. And then when they feel like they know the prayer, then they will come to me and say it. And if they have it pretty much without any prompts, then I will go ahead and mark it off for them. And we still have a few prayers left, so through March, they're still going to be working on this. Now, after the 5 minutes of memory work, they move on to geography. And for this rest of the school year, I decided for our geography that they are going to work on memorizing where different countries are on a map. And they've worked through the African countries and the European countries already. So now in March, we're going to move to Asia. I printed a blank copy for each boy and a labeled copy for each boy from Productive Homeschooling. I'll leave a link to that below. And I put them in these page protectors. And then so each day they will, in the very first day, they study 3 of the countries that are already filled in and write them down on here. And then the next day and after that, they will write down the 3 or more from the previous days, and then they'll look up 3 new ones and write those down as well until they've gone through all of the countries. So then after our geography, we move into another activity that we have pretty much every day of the week, and that's our nature study. We had originally done nature study in the afternoons, but it ended up working out much better in the morning time. And so after they have their memory work and their geography, and they've been sitting for a few minutes, we'll get up and move around and usually go from our classroom area in the living room to the dining room that's attached, and do our nature study there. Now, usually one day a week, most of the time on Mondays, we'll do nature study with a nature walk outside. But then the rest of the week is usually more indoor work. And I'll come up with a few topics through the month, and then I find books that we have on those topics. And they might be books that are more nonfiction, where they're giving information, or like The Little Cloud by Eric Carle up here that we're going to do next month. They might be some fiction books that are a lot of fun too. I might have some that are more for my 3-year-old in like the preschool range, but most of the time they're more geared for the older elementary age. These are a couple of the topics we're going to do next month. We're going to start with clouds, and so I usually like to put a picture of some sort on the chalkboard that we have hanging up in the dining room, and then we'll read some information about the topic with a nonfiction book, and then towards the end of the week they will put some of that information they've learned in their nature journals. We might try to do some artwork, so like next week in the beginning of the first week of March, we'll have them maybe draw or paint some clouds and they can label them. And then we're going to go on to extreme weather after that with some books about hurricanes and tornadoes. Then we're going to do nesting birds, which I'm still waiting on those books. And then we're going to finish out the month with frogs, because I'm thinking about maybe in April starting with ponds. So I thought that'd be a nice tie-in. And so the nature study is mostly a nature walk once, maybe twice a week if the weather's nice, and then reading some different books that we have, and then finishing out the week with some nature journal, writing down what we've learned, and some art. So up until now, all of the things that I've been mentioning, the saint of the day and vocabulary word of the day, and the memory work, geography, and nature study, those are all things we do pretty much every day of the week. But there are also some activities and books that we do just once or maybe just a couple of times a week. Life of Fred is one of those. We started this series last year, and we're now up to Edgewood. It goes in alphabetical order, so this is our fifth book in the series. And it's a series about a 5-year-old college math professor named Fred, and just the things that go on in his day. It's a living book, so it just kind of gives us information about his day and adds in some math and usually even some science topics along with it. But usually on Mondays we read this, and we just do a chapter. You can see it's broken up into chapters. And so I will read the chapter with the boys. We usually gather on the couch together so they can see the pictures also. And then at the end, it has a your turn to play. And it may just have, like this one just has the one problem. There may be a few problems. It just kind of depends on the chapter. And then when we get ready for the your turn to play, then they will head back to their seats and write these out. And then we'll go over the answers on the next page. So it's just a really fun supplement that we have to our regular math. But the boys really enjoy it, and I even get a kick out of listening to Fred's adventures. And so it's a nice math supplement. Although there are some people who use it as an actual program, so, whatever works for you is great. Now, along with Life of Fred that we do just once a week, there are some other activities that we do just once a week that I don't actually have books on. They're more hands-on activities or online. One of them is music that we do once a week with Squilt Live, and so I will link that below also. And that is an online live course 2 times a month, and then the other weeks of the month that we do not have a live course, I usually will just do an archived class. We've been doing that for several years now, and the boys really enjoy it. And then we also have been doing art history. And the past few months, we've been doing art history kids, which I will also link below. And that is such a rich curriculum that we've actually been doing it probably about 3 days a week, where we have an artist or a few different artists' works each month with one particular focus. And then we have some background about the artist and sometimes even some videos that we can access online about the artist. And then we have some different projects that we try to do, usually on Fridays. It's a nice, fun way to end the week. And so that's what we do probably about 3 days a week. And then let me go back to the last thing that we do, and that is our read aloud. Now, you did see some of the picture books that I read with our nature study, and sometimes I'll have picture books. Like this in March, I have a couple of books about St. Patrick, so I'll read those either on St. Patrick's Day or the week of. We have spring in March, so maybe we'll read some books about spring coming. But each day I do read a chapter, at least one chapter of our current read aloud. In February, we read Adam of the Road, which was so fabulous. It went along with our Middle Ages history, and the boys really enjoyed that. And so I thought we'd go back to just more of a fun. Adam of the Road was fun, but it was more with our history, so I just thought we'd do something that wasn't tied into any of our other learning. In January, we read Mary Poppins, and so the boys wanted to read the next in the series of Mary Poppins Comes Back. And so we'll be reading that in March, and we're really looking forward to it. So hopefully seeing the items that we have in our March morning basket will give you some ideas of what you can add to your own. Now, you can see, do our morning basket full of different subjects, mostly the enrichment subjects that might tend to get pushed to the side when we need to get our math done or, need to get the real work done. So it's something that we can definitely make sure we get to each day. I don't want to, push aside our read alouds or push aside art. I want to make sure we get to those. And so that's why I have put those in our morning basket. There are other families where they do a theme and then they have different items like games and activities and books around the theme, which is also a wonderful way to have your morning basket run. And so, in March, maybe you might want to do Ireland because of St. Patrick's Day, or maybe you might want to focus on women in history for Women History Month, or spring. So there are lots of different ideas of themes or subjects that you can put in a morning basket. But the important thing is that you are spending this time together with your children and learning, and maybe even learning a little bit yourself. So I really hope that you enjoy your March morning basket. Thank you for watching, and happy homeschooling.